Hello everyone, today we are going to be doing the American Civil War. Okay, so the American Civil War, which is in history class 8. So let's get started. Now, England recognized its independence of its 13 colonies situated along the eastern coast of North America in 1783 by the Treaty of Paris. So there was some kind of treaty between USA and England. Okay, these colonies, there were 13 colonies situated along the eastern coast of North America in 1783 by the Treaty of Paris. There is a treaty. So there was a treaty which was named the Treaty of Paris. So these colonies, after gaining independence, they formed the loose form of confederation. So they also formed a loose form of confederation. They also formed after the Treaty of Paris, which was subsequently converted into a federal system. There was a system called the federal system, which you will learn. So it was converted into federal system. So Treaty of Paris, federal system. Now provisions were made for sharing of power between the government states and each of 13 colonies. So there were 13 colonies, okay, and there was also a Treaty of Paris. Okay, now during the years 1861 to 1865, severe differences arose between the states of South and states of North. So North America is in the southern states and the northern states. So the southern states, comprise of the states of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Mexico, Arizona, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. I think I told you Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina. So these all are South. And North is Minnesota, Montana, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, New York, Maine, like that. Okay. Now, there was not divided. There were many differences in the North and the southern states. Okay, there are many differences. Now, during during the years 1861 to 1865, there was the American Civil War. So you must have seen the movie Civil War between Captain America and Iron Man. So this is the Civil War of Northern America and Southern America, and it lasted for 4 years. See, 1861 to 1865, it is 4 years. So this war lasted for 4 years, and there were many differences. Like, the factors were difference in economic structure. Number one, the first way, let's write the factors that led to the American Civil War. This is the introduction. Okay, now there were 13 colonies. There was a Treaty of Paris. There was North America. In North America, it was divided into. There were many differences in the northern and southern states. And 1861 to 1865, the Civil War lasted, and it lasted for 4 years. Okay. Now the factors that led to that was the difference of economic structure. You'll see this later. Why was there a difference of the economic structure? Why? The American Civil War is generally regarded as a struggle between the northern and southern states having irreconcilable interests. So there were northern and southern states had different interests. Okay, to make this simple, they had different interests. Okay, now the northern states were industrialized by many textile factories. So many textile factories and mm, and manufacturing industries. Manufacturing industries. So they had many they had textile factories and also manufacturing industries. Okay, along with industrialization, the introduction of railways, there was also the introduction of railways and the construction of canals in the northern states. So it led to the rapid growth of cities and towns. Now you see why northern states, they were industrialized, the main factor. There are many textile factories and also manufacturing industries, means they then manufacture stuff. Also there was also the introduction of railways had also started. There was also the construction of canals were also being made, and that led to the rapid growth of cities and towns. Northern states wanted to impose tariffs on imported goods to protect their industries from further foreign competition. So imagine, okay, I'll explain this to you in an easier manner. Okay, example, this is shopkeeper number 1 from America. Okay, America, he makes pencils. Okay, no, let's say he makes jewelry. Okay, and that he puts the price in the market $50,000. Okay, and in England or any other country, example, I'll say I'll just write a random country, Belgium, the same kind of jewelry, this exact same jewelry, this is being sold for in the market for $25,000. Okay, so any person, normal person would buy the same jewelry from Belgium. Why? Because it has the cheaper rate from that of America. So the American people notice this, and hence there will be some competition. If there will be competition, then America will not be able to sell that much of goods as Belgium will sell. So there would be a start of competition. That is why they introduced tax. Okay, so there was a tax imposed on imported goods. Okay, so that any competition is not done. Example, you get a jewelry from 25,000, your America will also take a lot of tax. That is why people will prefer to buy from America rather than Belgium, even though it has cheaper rates. So that is why. Okay, on the other hand, what happened to the southern states? Okay, the southern states were primarily agricultural. They were agricultural states. Okay, they did agriculture, and they had huge plantations, means huge farms to just plant plantations. Okay, so there were huge plantations as well. So the cotton plantations, there were cotton plantations. Okay, so the cotton plantations, they provided raw materials for the industries, both in the northern states of America and and England. Okay, so everything which is made by industry, it needs raw materials. So there should be some, like, place from where they get raw materials, and these are the southern states of North America. Okay. Now, the cotton plantations provided raw materials from the growing industries both in England and the northern states. The southern states wanted tax-free trade with Britain to get cheap manufactured goods in exchange for raw cotton. So, what we had seen before, to uh, to remove this, this thing cheap, to have no competition, they put tax on imported goods. So, okay, the southern states did not want tax. Why? Why did they not want the tax? Because when they give away cotton to England, okay, then England gives them some goods too. So it's like barter trade. So they give them cheap manufactured goods. So they want a tax-free trade to get cheap manufactured goods. So if England gives them some things from their country, there would be some tax imposed. That is why they did not want tax, so that they can get some cheap manufactured goods from England in exchange for raw cotton. So cotton they give to England, England gives them some cheap manufactured goods, but they are not cheap anymore because there was a tax imposed on imported goods. So the economic disparity, so the economic disparity created friction. Friction not in the sense of physics. Friction means I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Sometimes you fight what your siblings, like that. Okay. Now, this economic disparity created friction. But this is not the only thing. There is another thing which is the main reason the war had begun. Why? How? What is that reason? That is the problem of slavery. Okay. Now you want to understand right now. Okay. So there was a problem of slavery as well. Okay. So right from the time America was colonized. Okay. So 1 second. Yeah. There was a problem of slavery. What problem? So right from the time when American was colonized. So when America was, starting to get colonized, the thousands of slaves was brought from Africa. So thousands of slaves for Africa were captured. Thousands of states of slaves from America were captured and brought to America. Why? Why were they brought? Because they were forced. They were brought to America. Okay, they were brought to America, and what did they do there? They were forced to work in cotton, sugarcane, and tobacco plantations. So in that time, the people actually bought slaves. So like that, they were forced and they bought slaves. They were forced to work in cotton, sugarcane, and also tobacco plantations. The Negro slaves. So the Negro slaves were transported in the most miserable conditions to the American colonies, where they acted as cheap, convenient, and efficient tools for the development of the large growing plantations. So they were transported to America from Africa. Okay, they were transported from America to Africa, and they acted as cheap, convenient, and efficient tools for the development of the large growing plantations. Okay, so they acted as cheap and efficient and convenient tools for the development of large growing plantations. Not only that, there is also more. Okay, they were badly treated. So after doing everything, they're still badly treated by their masters, who bought and sold like commodity. And the last thing, there were no laws for to protect the slaves from the harsh treatment given to them by their masters. So imagine there are actually some dobbies in Harry Potter in America there were, okay, slaves. So the northern states did not require slaves, okay. Northern states did not require slaves, okay, as most of the people worked in factories as paid laborers. Okay, so most of the people, oh sorry, typo, laborers. One second, laborers. Okay, so northern states do not require slaves as most of the factories, most of the people worked in factories as paid laborers like they are now. But in southern, they needed them. In southern, these paid laborers were not there. That's the problem. That's why they required slaves. Okay? And the southern states required slave labor. Okay. So southern states required. So the southern states required slave laborers. Okay. Whose entire economy, their economy depended on slave labor. So if there was no slave labor, there will be no economy, which will lead to the downfall of the southern states. We have only done one page till now, and this much is done. Okay, so let's continue now. Now, territorial expansion. With the expansion of industries in the USA, a large number of people from Britain, Germany, and Ireland settled in the northern states. So, um, okay. Number 3, territorial expansion. So, seeing the expansion of industries, many people from England, Germany, Ireland settled in the northern states. Okay, so many people settled in the northern states from Germany, Britain, Ireland, and more. Okay. Okay. So these settlers from Europe brought with them scientific knowledge. They brought scientific knowledge. So these people brought some scientific knowledge as well and contributed in the industrial growth. Okay, so they contributed in the industrial growth as well because they brought with them scientific knowledge from Europe, and the Europe scientists were very smart at that time. So they brought a lot of scientific knowledge with them. Okay. Now, as the population of these colonies increased, Efforts were made to explore the unexplored territories in the western regions of North America. Many of these newly settled colonies were absorbed into the USA as new states. The Northerners wanted these new states to be free states, whereas the Southerners wished that these states should be slave states. So there were some states. They found a lot of more states. Those states they wanted some to be the northern wanted it to be free states, means no slaves, and the southern wanted to be slave states. Okay, so yeah, you must have understood clear. Any doubt, please write it down in the comment section. Okay, now a movement for abolition of slavery began in the north and gained momentum around 1830. Those who joined these movements were called abolitionists because they demanded the immediate abolition of slavery. They strongly advocated the repeal of Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, which the runaway slaves had to be returned to their masters. Inspired by this act, Harry Beecher Stowe, in the novel Uncle Tom's Cabin, described the miserable condition of a slave in America and roused people's anger against slavery. In the presidential election of 1860, Abraham Lincoln contested as the candidate of the Republicans, and Stephen Arnold Douglas stood as the Democratic candidate. Abraham Lincoln stood for freedom and caption of slave, while Douglas wanted slavery to continue. So they were from two types. Okay. Now this is the fear of Republican control. So fear of Republican control. Okay, so the fear of Republican control is the fourth. So, Lincoln wanted slaves to be free, and Douglas wanted slavery to continue. Okay. Now, the Southerners feared that if Lincoln became the president, so if Lincoln became the president of the USA, he would have all the rights, and as he had promised that he would abolish slavery. So imagine if he did that, and even if Lincoln could not do that, the Northerners would. So just before the elections had finished, they made a kind of like new state. They seven southern states, namely South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas, declared their secession of the Union and established a southern government. So they made an entire new government. Okay, an entirely new government they have made, and they left from the Union. They took control over the federal forts and other properties within their boundaries, and they adopted its own constitution and elected Jefferson Davis as its president. Now, the beginning of the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln became the president of USA in 1860. So they feared, right? He became the president in 1860. Okay. And declared that his objective was to prevent the spread of slavery in the new states. Apart from the states, so they wanted to remove slavery and the prevent the spread of slavery in the new states of the West, which were joining the US, and to get rid of it in the states in which it already existed. But at the same time, it warned that while a state was free to join the Union voluntarily, no state had the right to secede after joining it. That means that once a union had joined, they cannot leave. Like they had left these some of these have left now these Texas and can North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Mississippi, so all these. To prevent it again, he made this. However, the southern states did not wanted to accept any rules, and they wanted to fight in the battlefield. So in April 1861, the Confederates attacked the the southern states attacked. Okay, now this is beginning of the Civil War. Okay, so the southern states attacked first because they did not want to accept Lincoln's rules, so they attacked southern states. Attacked. Okay, northern states. So this war started, and they attacked an island in South Carolina. This attack marked the beginning of the American Civil War. Lincoln called for 75,000 soldiers to, to stop the rebellion. Okay, and they also ordered a blockade of the seaports. So blockade of the seaports as well. Okay, so the blockade of the seaports so that no weapons can come and go. Okay, if any country came up and gave them some good weapons, then they will have the advantage, the southern states. That's why I ordered the blockade of the seaports. Then some more states joined them. So the Arkansas, North Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee also joined them. Okay. Now, these 11 states were on the side of Confederacy who fought against the Union. This war dragged on for 4 long years with heavy casualty. 4 years with heavy casualties on both sides. The northern states had higher numerical strength, means the northern states had more number of soldiers than the southern states, and also due to its large population and also a better scientific knowledge. You know why? It was because of this territorial expansion. Many people from England, Germany, and Ireland settled. That is why. Now, however, the Confederate Army under the able generals, there were many good generals in the southern states. So, due to them, they also put up a good fight back. Okay, good fight back by the southern states due to their able generals. Okay, and then Lincoln also he grew tired, and he declared that if any state continued to rebel till January 1st, 1863, it would be automatically said that the slaves living in the state were automatically free. So it was automatically said that the states living in the state will be automatically free. Okay, but still, so hence he abolished slavery in the areas still in rebellion against the federal government. One of the bloodiest battles fought at Gettysburg in July 1863. So, bloody battle in Gettysburg. Battles fought. Gettysburg Address. While dedicating at the North Cemetery at Gettysburg to the soldiers. So the president, so there's 50,000 soldiers were killed in 3 days of fighting, and Federal Army won and a very important victory. Okay. Now, in November 1863, President Lincoln delivered his famous Gettysburg Address while dedicating the National Cemetery at Gettysburg to the soldiers who had sacrificed their lives in defense of the Union. So, he had delivered an address. In his address, Lincoln set before the nation the task of preserving and upholding the Union, dedicated to freedom and democracy, as to make the government of the people, by the people, and for the people everlasting. This was said by Lincoln. The Civil War lasted for 4 years. Finally, it ended when General Lee surrendered the Confederate Army to General Ulysses S. Grant of the Union forces of Appomattox Courthouse at Virginia. Now, what was the significance of the Civil War? Okay. What was the significance? What importance of the Civil War? Number one, what is number one? Number one is that the war put the end of slavery. Okay, there was the end of slavery, and it entrangled what they were the relations of the north and southern states had come back. Okay, then the war abolished from American politics the idea of state sovereignty and secession for all the times to come. It was finally decided that no state had the right to secede. Thus the war, so the war made USA a strong nation, which it is today. Now, the third one is the economic spur. The war led to significant changes, enhanced the growth of large-scale manufacturing industries, and enhanced the growth of manufacturing industries. Number 4, there were also some, due to shortage of labor in the southern lands, farmers were compelled to use machines. Farmers were given machines instead of slaves. So farmers could buy machines instead of slaves. Now, growth of paper currency. I don't know how, but it led to the growth. Okay, the number 6. Okay. Number 6 was the war led to introduction number of new weapons. Introduction of new weapons like quick loading rifles, armored ships, submarines, etc. Railroad and telegraph were used for the first time as communication. Okay, so 6 points. And also Civil War inspired other countries in the world. Inspired other countries to abolish slavery, or else there might be slavery in other countries now. Okay, now what was the role of Abraham Lincoln? Okay, Abraham Lincoln, born 1809 in Kentucky. Mother died when he was 9, and he was brought up in great hardships, a lot of hardship when he was brought up. Okay, he studied law, and became a lawyer. So he was a distinguished lawyer, and also he was a great orator. Now 1847, elected to the Congress and retained his seat till 1849. He was elected as the 16th president of United States of America as a Republican candidate. Okay. He played a great role in keeping the nation unified. Played great role in keeping nation unified. Also, USA will not be the same USA like it is today. And he freed all the slaves. So after the Civil War, the citizens of USA were granted citizenship of USA and were given equal rights. Citizens of USA were given equal rights thanks to Lincoln. On April 14, 1865, while watching a play with his wife, an actor John Wilkes Booth shot Lincoln in the head. Lincoln collapsed and never gained consciousness ever again. Okay, what does it mean? I don't want to tell you. He died. Okay, he died the next day. Okay, April 15th, 1865. So the deed was done. He was killed. It was Abraham Lincoln who gave us the famous principle of democracy. He gave famous principle of democracy, a government by the people, no, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Okay. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, what we had learned after a lot of that. This is what it is. 4 score and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on the great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that nation might live. It's altogether fitting and proper that we should do this, but in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot constrict, and we cannot hollow this ground. The brave men living and dead who struggled here have constructed it, far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they, the fought here, have thus far nobly advanced it. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that is, from the honoured dead which we take increased devotion that they caused, from which they gave their last full measure of devotion, that we are highly resolved that their dead should not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth. So next is words to know. We have at the end of this chapter the words to know: federation, formation of states into a single group with centralized control, the Congress, the legislative wing of the US government, civil war, the war between the people in the same country, the plantations, the large estates in which crops like cotton, coffee, sugarcane, and tobacco are grown. Confederate States are the 11 states of the South which seceded from the American nation Union. Now, the question of the day is name any two southern states which seceded from the Federation. The second question is give the southern states wanted to have dash trade with the Britain. Which kind of trade? I told you guys before. What kind of trade did it want? And the third question, the last question, Uncle Tom's Cabin was written by whom? Who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin? I won't tell you. So, thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. We have finished this entire chapter in a matter of 50 minutes. So, I hope you understood everything. Any doubt, please write it down in the comment section. Thank you very much. Make sure to subscribe and goodbye.